here on Facebook.com/LiveNowDT and on YouTube.com/DT. Grateful to be here with you inside and on WakeUpCallDT.com. And of course, like I said before, you are watching here on Facebook Live on Facebook.com/LiveNowDT as well as on YouTube.com/WakeUpCallDT. So I hope you're having yourselves a great morning here in the middle of the week. Happy Ash Wednesday. For those of you that go out and have your ashes, happy Ash Wednesday. I appreciate, everything that's, there's something about faith, and there's something about, having a belief in something bigger than yourself. So for those that do, I definitely applaud that and appreciate that, because I know sometimes in today's world, it's hard for some people. So I do appreciate that very much. And for those that are maybe searching for a faith, I hope you find it. Searching for something good, I hope you find that as well. So hopefully you're having a terrific morning this morning and making the most of your day. And there is plenty coming up here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Very, very excited to be celebrating with you this Wednesday. As you know, or maybe some of you don't know, Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora will be taking the show on the road. That's hashtag Wake Up Call OTR. Call with Dan Tortora. Obviously, our first home being here in central and upstate New York. We're happy to be local here to you and then to travel throughout the country as well. Kind of have the best of both worlds, being able to travel in and out of this country while calling central New York and upstate New York home and calling Florida our second home. So a lot of beautiful things that we get to do here on Wake Up Call, and I am more than proud to bring the show to you every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Today we are going to be bringing you a very, very special conversation with someone who has never joined the show before. That is Mr. Rob Siechen. Rob Siechen is going to be joining us right around 9:15 a.m. Eastern Time this morning. Very happy to have Rob on the show, the head coach of the girls basketball team at CNS for the North Stars. And, of course, my cousin Franny here, I call her my little sister, she was hanging out here in the studios last week. And Rob is the one that gave her the call about the thought of potentially returning to basketball after not playing for 3 years. We know that not only she plays basketball, of course, she plays lacrosse, and she'll be going to Stony Brook for lacrosse, is committed there already. But this opportunity to play basketball and get back into it, a pretty cool thing. So Rob Siechen is going to be speaking with me about that, as well as how the season got started, sports and coronavirus, and kind of everything that the team has gone through and that he has gone through in elevating to the head coach position of the varsity girls team. So I'll be talking with Rob in just a second about that. Very happy to have Mr. Siechen on the show here today of CNS. And then we'll jump in, as we always do, to hour number 2, which brings you the Fantasy Football Power Hour. And today we got a lot of stuff to talk about. And some people might think, what can you talk about? The season's over. The championship game has been played. But as we always tell you here, fantasy football never, ever sleeps. So Mike and I will be discussing what should fantasy managers do this time of year. Dynasty, redraft, rookie class, NFL draft, retirements, free agents, how to win money next season. All this great stuff is going to be coming up to you today, and I'm ecstatic about the opportunity to share that with you. So thank you for hanging out inside of the Cafe Kubal studios here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. I'm very, very honored to be here. And inside of MonPazPopcorn.com is what's poppin'. Hour 1, Rob Siechen. Hour 2, the Fantasy Football Power Hour with Mr. Mike Sofka of Hall of Fame Fantasy Football.com and our joint venture of Winning Fantasy Football. You can join our Facebook group, Winning Fantasy Football, by just searching it right on your Facebook search bar. If you're watching the show live, it's right in your upper left-hand corner, I believe, and you'll be able to check us out there and join it for free. So make sure you do that this morning while you're listening and watching the show. So with that being stated, we'll take a step aside for a fast break. When we come back, Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora will be proud to bring you Rob Siechen for the first time ever here on the broadcast, speaking with us about taking over the job of varsity as the head coach, as well as the team makeup, everything that he has learned up to this point, sports and coronavirus, and so much more, right after this. In these unique times, there are those in our community that give us a sense of normalcy and positivity. Pizza Man on 50 Oswego Street in Baldwinsville has been here for you for over 35 years and is here now. Call 315-638-1234 or order online at pizzamanbville.com to bring those familiar tastes into your home. And remember to come see our monthly on-site broadcasts centered around the community and our Baldwinsville Bees. Pizza Man in Baldwinsville. Any way you slice it, they are always here for you.
I'm George Townsend of Honda City with some good advice when buying a new car. The true cost of owning a new car is determined by the appraised value when you trade it. No vehicle appraises higher than a Honda. Next, look for low APRs and deep discounts. You also want low maintenance costs and great fuel economy. That's why my advice to you is to buy a new Honda. Looking pre-owned, visit our Honda Certified Used Car Center. Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard, Liverpool, or HondaCity-CNY.com.
It would be a pity if you don't shop at Honda City.
This is Jimmer Sikowski, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Cicero, 7916 Brewerton Road in Cicero, right in front of the Home Depot. I had a deep feeling that God wanted me to do something bigger with my life and to help people, help others. I kept putting Chick-fil-A in my life, and I realized as I was going through the franchise selection process that positively impacting the lives of others was really core to what we do here at Chick-fil-A. First of all, it starts with the food. The food is brought in fresh daily. We bring in local produce. We prepare to order in the kitchen. We hand butter chicken. We hand spin our milkshakes. It's great food. It doesn't taste like fast food. I think the second thing is the way people feel when they come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. It's different. We try to treat people with intentional kindness here, which is very different and deeper than good customer service. And so I think it feels remarkable for most people to come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. And then lastly, the impact that we try to have in the community is very different. It's a big part of the expectation of every operator of a Chick-fil-A restaurant is that they're actively engaged in their community, they're a leader in the community, and they're making a difference. When they realize that what we're striving to do is to shine a little light in their life, that's a very, very different experience than you will have at any other quick service restaurant. And it's that remarkable experience that I think people will emotionally connect with.
Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on wakeupcalldt.com, your one-stop sports shop, and on mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt. Proud to be hanging out with you inside of the Cafe Kubal studios, and it is always my honor and my privilege to be with you every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. So I hope you're having yourselves a great week currently and making the most of the time that you got out there, and truly staying warm up here, as you know that it has become ever cold. I feel like it only gets colder over these last 2 weeks, so I hope that you're staying warm, and I hope that you're making the best of the time that you got out there right now. Very happy to have on the broadcast here with us this morning for the first time. Rob Siechen is going to be joining us in just a second of CNS, coming over from JD, Jamesville DeWitt, 15 years at JD, and then coming over to Cicero North Syracuse to take over this girls basketball program. He's also a teacher. We got a lot to discuss and a lot to get into about all of that, and I genuinely appreciate his time and appreciate him being here with us this morning. So without further ado, let's bring in the coach of CNS girls basketball, and that is Mr. Rob Siechen. Rob, how are we doing today?
I'm doing good, Dan. How about you?
I'm doing very well, and Rob, for you, I mean, I know that obviously you've been up in central New York for a long time, and I know that we're used to this weather, but calm. I mean, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but has this not been the coldest winter ever? I mean, is it just because of Corona that we feel this way? I mean, what's going on?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe because we're ever, but this past couple of days has been cooler.
Yeah, there's nothing like having the snow on the car and you're going to leave the house and you're like, you know what, I'll just brush it off. And I went to brush it yesterday and there was a sheet of ice over it. So I'm taking like the chunks and the pieces off and the weaponry that can be like kind of formed by all this stuff. So, I mean, have you How have you dealt with that over the years? Because I know some people, they complain for the 5-6 months of winter that we have. Other people take it in stride. As far as cleaning the car off and dealing with some ice and whatnot, I don't have any qualms with it, but, it is freezing outside. So how have you dealt with it over the years?
Well, it's fortunate now that I have a son who's in high school who now takes care of our plowing of our driveway with a four-wheeler. That's how I dealt with it. It makes life a lot easier for me. Remote start's a great invention for the cars that are outside. You just hit remote start and go out half an hour later, and everything usually brushes off pretty easily.
Yeah, I have a remote start, and I don't use. I'm like this old school, like my dad, No. You know what I mean? So I think I need to turn it on, Rob. I think you're reminding me of that right now.
Yeah, that's definitely an advantage. I would definitely recommend that.
This coming from Rob Siechen this morning, CNS North Stars girls basketball head coach. Rob, for you, before we get into CNS, I want to jump over to your time at Jamesville DeWitt and just what your takeaways were from there and what you can say about, spending over a baker's dozen of years over there with 15 years at Jamesville DeWitt.
Oh, being at JD, it's kind of, it's so unique coming back to CNS because I've coached at JD for the past 17 years, 15 of them as girls varsity coach, and then the 2 years prior as the boys JV coach. JD's, we've made a lot of great relationships with families and players. My kids essentially grew up in the gym over there. And we still keep in touch with a lot of the families and kids. It's interesting to see the kids growing up and having their own children now. I've been there that long that's happening at this point in time.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good.
No, I was gonna say, to go through that where you've been there to the point where you're seeing, kids have kids, just how that's surreal to you and just what that's been like to experience something like that.
Yeah, I guess it says I'm old. It's step one. I always joke with the kids, when they turn 30 or 25, you're old, and they always respond with, well, you're always going to be older. So it's kind of funny. It's kind of like you said, surreal, seeing the kids grow up and turn into adults and parents themselves. It'll be interesting to see, when they get kids into school and high school and stuff and see how that comes full circle.
Yeah, and for you to have been over there, what made the move make sense to you to spend so much time at Jamesville DeWitt? Like we talked about, the 15 years, and then you add the 2 there, and you have 17 overall, almost 20 years at Jamesville DeWitt. What ultimately felt right to shift to CNS?
I don't know. It was a decision that I never thought I would have to make. I didn't think Coach Smith would retire when he did, and Corona. I feel bad that it happened during Corona. The decision, and then talking to the kids, the players, and the families that I have over at JD. But it was a decision for me and my family. It makes my logistics a little bit easier. It's been nice in this 2 weeks of practice to actually walk out of my room and walk downstairs to practice. I teach right at the high school, so that makes it very convenient for me. And then, when you get home from games, it's a 5-minute commute versus a 25-minute commute. Not a big thing, but it was one of those things logistically. It was good for me, and it's a good change. Change things up, and makes me have to learn more and challenge myself.
And like you said, Eric Smith, not anticipating a retirement anytime sooner that this would happen. I don't think a lot of people were anticipating that. How did you take the news as a coach, even before anything happened job-wise? How did you take it as a coach in the community, seeing Eric Smith step away?
I immediately called him. I'm pretty good friends with him, in the coaching circles with Eric. We kind of started varsity at the same time, and we've done a lot of things together. So I just called him, just kind of get the inside info to make sure everything was okay. And it was totally his decision. It was just it was a time that he was at a point in his life that, he thought it was the right decision for him. That was step one, making sure everything was okay with him and his family. And then I was just like everybody else, kind of in shock, that it happened, because never saw it happen, never saw it coming.
Yeah, and for that to happen, and like you said, he feels like it was the right time, it was the right thing. Like you said, you wanted to make sure he was okay, and you found that out. I mean, what to carry, that torch being passed, essentially, what did he say to you about that? I mean, did he give you any thoughts, any kind words about it, now that you're in the place where he used to be for so long? I mean, did he give you kind of some, words of encouragement or some positive words, or tell you that he's happy that, if you're taking over, that it's going to be you? What if there was a conversation about that, what was it about?
I think as I was shocked at him retiring, when he found out that I was interested and ultimately going to take the position, I think he was equally shocked. He was definitely happy that I was going to take the position. He didn't think that I would ever leave JD, nor did I, to be honest with you. Never would have entertained it. It just there was a lot of things that happened that fell in line that made it the right decision for me. But he gives us well wishes. He still helps us out. He still helps me out with some things on the teams that we play and stuff, because we didn't play in the same circles of teams locally. So he's still involved slightly on the outside.
Yeah, and speaking here with Rob Siechen this morning on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Cafe Kubal studios, he never thought you would take it. You didn't think you would take it, but you took it. So, now that you're in it, and I know that, just a little bit in it at this point, what's the experience been like for you so far?
It's been great walking into a gym. In the beginning, I mean, it started 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
We had two open gyms in the fall before we got shut down, and it's been great to get to know a different group of kids. At JD, when I was there so long, you kind of know the kids starting in third grade, and then they work their way up through to the program and out of the program. Walking into CNS, I knew the kids, on a name basis, because we scrimmaged them. My daughter played for Eric a couple years ago, so she actually played with Jess and Julia. So I knew the kids kind of on the outside. But it's been nice to get to know this group of kids, day to day in practice.
Yeah, and for the crew, the crew that you have now, how would you describe what you have on the team? I know you said, you're just a little bit into this thing, and because of everything that's happened with Corona and schedule changes and whatnot. But what do you know of this team? How would you describe the current makeup of CNS girls basketball?
Big and athletic is kind of how I would say it. They work hard. They do anything I ask them to do. That's a credit to Smith. He's established a rapport and a rigor with the kids in practice and with me coming in. And I just kind of extend that. He's already got there, and then just push him, how I want to push him, which is not necessarily harder. It's just different. We just have different approaches, but ultimately have the same goal. The kids are great. They're working hard every day. They seem to get along on the floor. They seem to thoroughly enjoy being in the gym because there's nothing else going on right now.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, we didn't know when anything was going to happen here. It's been kind of a sit and wait for the past year, almost a year now, from March of last year to where we are sitting right now. How have you handled that as a coach? I mean, to take a job during a pandemic and not know if you're going to have a season, when you're going to have a season, how you're going to have a season. How did that factor in or weigh into what you were doing? And did it have any factor in it that, you could be taking a job that wouldn't start on time or be pushed back or, obviously shrink a season and whatnot? I mean, did that weigh into you at all? And what was it like to look at, taking a job and taking it at a time where things were so up in the air, not just in central New York, but in the entire world?
Well, when I did take the job, it was back in the summer, I had no idea that it would impact basketball. I don't think anybody had any idea. I mean, I thought it might impact it that we'd have to wear masks or, adjust our daily routines. I had no idea that it would affect our season the way it did. Would it have changed my decision? I don't think so. But it's definitely different. In the fall, we tried to do things according to like the superintendent and board of ed guidelines, and we made it through 2 weeks, and then everything got shut down. So it's like we start up, stop, and then we just found out. I think it was 3 weeks ago that we were having a season. I met with the team via Zoom like a week before that, and I told them, there's a little bit of smoke around the state that something might be happening. I honestly didn't think we'd have games. I thought they were going to let us practice and not play games. But I told them, do what you can to get in shape. And we had a plan for that we're going to have a season, but don't expect to have a season, which is kind of a hard thing to say to a group of kids who's had so much taken away from them. Yeah. And then a week and a half later, on a Friday, on a tweet from the governor's office, they said we're playing. I mean, nobody knew. Nobody had any idea beforehand that was happening. It was crazy.
Yeah, and to have, like you said, I mean, you thought, okay, maybe they'll let us practice, but we're not going to play, and you're trying to, get people ready for that. You're trying to get these young women ready for the thought that it's not going to happen when they've already had so much taken away from them, like you stated. This isn't one of those somebody was privy to it, you know what I mean? It's not one of those, well, we got the breaking story, but nobody else has it. Like you just said, nobody knew. I mean, you as a coach, no one knew what was going on. I mean, how strange has that been that it's, it's not like, okay, well, the coaching staff knows and maybe a few reporters. It was like, no, everybody's just waiting for a tweet, waiting for something to come on the news, waiting for something to run across the ticker. How strange has that been for you that we're all kind of sitting in a world where you're going about your business and you might get a message from one of your players or somebody else going, hey coach, we got a season, because that's how this year has gone.
That's exactly how it happened. To be funny, you just hit the nail on the head on that, how I found out. But yeah, it's weird because I do have a lot of contacts throughout the state with coaches, and about every Wednesday I would kind of reach out. Anybody hear anything? And that Wednesday before this tweet, nobody heard anything. I talked to Tim Bednarski, the AD. That Thursday, I'm like, have you heard anything? I know there's meeting something. He's like, no, we haven't heard anything. I don't think anything's going to happen. I walked out of school on that Friday, and then I got a text from Julia Rowe saying that sports can happen. She said, is this real? And I had no idea. So I checked with Tim, and he's like, yep, it's real. He's like, we just found out on the same thing. He's like, the story broke by a Syracuse.com reporter from a tweet from the governor's office. Nobody, not even Robert Zayas, who's the NISFA coordinator, he had no idea either. It was just complete blindsided. So it was, everybody thought nothing was going to happen. Then all of a sudden, boom, we got a season in a week, which set everybody in a whirlwind.
Yeah, so for you as a coach, how do you prepare for that? What did you do? What were the first steps you took in that moment?
Trying to figure out what our schedule was, to be honest. Trying to figure out, how many games we're going to play, when we were going to start, and could we get a scrimmage in or not? The logistics of that stuff. And then we had to get out to the kids about signups. You have to sign up through a thing called Family ID so you can get registered to play and get cleared. So it was just all the little logistical things. It was great to finally get in the gym and have tryouts / practice. All that paperwork stuff get behind you.
Yeah, and as you got the schedule and figured that out, what were your overall thoughts on what you had and what was in front of you and maybe what your, I want to say what your expectations were, but I think we were all kind of expecting the worst, preparing for the worst, so to speak, this last year, hoping that things work out, but being prepared for it. So when the schedule came out and you knew kind of what you had and the length that you had, what did you think about all that?
It was good. The schedule came out quick. I didn't think we'd be playing after 7 practices. So we did have a game after 7 practices, which was interesting. And then this week we had a curveball thrown at us on Monday. Our game today was canceled because FM had a positive, or they had a positive in their program. So then they're on pause for 10 days. And so, we talk about every game's a gift at this point in time. We don't know how many we're going to get. We were in practice when I got the call, and the girls are all freaking out when I get a call in practice because last season Coach Smith got a call and it's the end of the season, so they're always waiting for that ball to drop. So with the schedule, we have what it is. We're going to play every game that we can. We were fortunate to pick up another game today in place of FM because Nottingham lost a game against Hunter because they had a pause as well. So it's going to be one of those things that our schedule is going to be very fluid throughout the season, and we just have to be able to kind of roll with it.
Yeah, and that's something that is going to obviously, test the mettle of the team and whatnot. Everybody's kind of going through it, but how would you describe, having to do something like that and knowing that, this schedule is going to be that fluid. It can change on a dime. Like you said, you get a call on Monday that you don't have a game today, and then all of a sudden that game changes, so you got to prep for that team, a different team. I mean, this is really going to, for all the years that you've been a coach, I would imagine this is going to test you differently and uniquely as you step forward.
Absolutely. I'm a coach who likes to be prepared for the opponent. I like to be more prepared than anybody else, so I want to see what's going on, so I try to get as much information on them, watch as much film as I can, and get ahead of the game, so to speak. And then I give some of that information to the kids, the things that I deem important. This year, that's probably not going to happen a lot. For a game today, it was really hard to get any prep in yesterday for the game today. So we just have to worry about us and do what we do and get better at what we do. So that's kind of like the change for me this year is instead of, prepping for the opponent, we're prepping ourselves. We're getting ourselves to the best point of what we need to be playing for the next opponent.
That coming here from Rob Siechen this morning, CNS girls basketball head coach for the North Stars. I'm looking at the schedule right now, what you have. You won your first game on the road at West Genesee by 30, 72-42. Bring me into that game. Like you said, the schedule came out fast. You were playing, almost right after you practice. You get in, you get the girls in, you try to start to work on some stuff, and bang, you got a game. But you were able to go on the road and win that. What can you tell me about that matchup in that game, knowing that as a coach, you might be thinking going into it, hey, we've barely practiced, and then you end up coming out of it with a 30-point victory.
Well, it didn't start off like that. I'll say I overcoached in the first quarter and that tried to do something defensively that I've done for years at JD, but with only 6 or 7 practices in with these kids, it didn't really work very well. We started off down. I think we were down 12-3 in that game, and then when we simplified things on the defensive end, we were able to get in a flow and get the result that we wanted. So the kids are learning me. I'm learning the kids. The kids are learning the system. So it's just, it was a great result for us on Friday to go into West Jenny and get that win. They're a very good team. They're very well coached. They're one of the best teams in the area, and they have been the last 10 years or so. So it was a good result. Now going forward, we just have to, get better each day, so to speak.
Yeah, and to go off of something like that, you said that you felt like in the beginning you overcoached that. What were you doing in the beginning that you had to adjust?
It's all on the defensive end. It was all on what we were trying to do. We tried to switch things up defensively a lot of times, and that was getting us confused, and kids were missing assignments. So we just simplified it and went with one system for the day, and that worked for that particular opponent. We'll see what happens later today if we can do that or if we'll stay simplified again. Probably won't start with the switching defenses, but we'll see if we can get there later in the game.
Well, it's interesting to see a coach in Central New York use more than one defense. You know that. So here on the broadcast here with Rob Siechen this morning of CNS on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Cafe Kubal Studios. Your schedule is going to be interesting here. You're going to play Nottingham twice in less than 10 days, and then you're going to have who you just played West Jenny on the road. You're going to have West Jenny at home in the CNS gym on March 4th and March 9th. Bring me into this schedule and how this kind of shapes up and whatnot, because you like with Nottingham coming in and being this filler game for FM, you're going to have them twice in 9 days, but then you're going to have West Genesee at home twice in a very, very tiny short span from March 4th to March 9th.
Yeah, it's kind of like one of those MBAs. You want to say it's a home and home, but we play both of those games against Jenny at home. The schedule has its quirks this year because there's really not a lot of space or time to plan it out. I know when our AD was doing our league schedule, and then we could pick up a couple other games, Jenny wanted to play us again. So they're like, all right, we'll put it in there. And for whatever reason, gym availability, it ended up being at our place both times back to back, which is a very unique scheduling thing. Nottingham, we do play twice this week, once this week, once next week. And there actually might be a third time. We might be adding a third game with them later on in the year. The schedule is, like I said, still fluid. I think we can play 12 games, so we're trying to get as many games that we can. And we can't play out of the area at all. So it's just we're looking to schedule against the teams that are around here. And we both, myself, the CNS AD and JD AD, obviously JD would be a great opponent to play, but we're not going to put myself or the kids in that position to play them in the next couple of years.
Yeah, and so, for you, as you continue to go through this and figure this out, you're also a teacher, and you have chemistry and whatnot. So how has that been for you to not only have to deal with this as a coach, but in the summer accept a new job? So you're transitioning in your life from one school to another school. You're trying to figure out if there's going to be a season, when things are going to happen. You're watching the news. You're trying to stay close to that. You're trying to get to know your new team. And on top of all of that, you're also trying to teach, knowing that sometimes they're home and sometimes they're there for you, right in front of you. And it's got to be more than a whirlwind for you, but you're feeling it so many different ways in newness, in being a teacher, and in being a coach. How have you juggled all of that, and how have you tried to make any sense of a year that has made almost no sense?
When you put it all together like that, it does sound kind of daunting. I've never really thought about it like that, but I just go day to day. Teaching in this environment is completely different. I want to say I'm becoming a YouTube sensation because I have a YouTube channel now, but not really. Not really, but so I have to video. It's not really video; it's just my voice with notes on the screen. But that's how we have to get information to kids now. And it's, as hard as it is for a teacher, it's 10 times harder for a student because they now have to adjust what they're used to doing in class, and they have to prioritize their time outside of school. And that's a really, really a hard thing to do, to sit in front of a computer screen for extended periods of time for a 13, 14, 15, 16-year-old kid. My wife teaches kindergarten, and she's got YouTube lessons and stuff, so the kindergartners are doing the same thing. It's just, it's definitely different. It's not what we were used to doing, but you have to make best of what you have available to you.
Yeah, and for you, learning how to, teach remotely and do these things and whatnot, how has that challenged you? How has it made you a better teacher? Basically, there's so many things that go into, you got kids in front of you, and you got to keep their attention and make sure that they're focused. You got them at home. There's a lot of factors that can get their attention to go elsewhere. So how have you learned to teach on the road, so to speak, teach virtually?
Yeah, you just try to talk to people and see what they do. Luckily CNS being a big district, and we have a big science department, so you just kind of pick the brains of other teachers and see what's working with them. The thing with this year is you try something and see if it works. Yeah. That might not be how I normally do it in the years past. You give it a shot. If it works, you keep doing it. If it doesn't, don't be afraid to throw it to the side and try something new. And that's kind of where we are right now. I think we've evolved into a pretty good flow in how I'm running chemistry right now. Most of the kids are doing a pretty good job with it. But the hard thing for them is just the time management, is being able to sit down and not get distracted at home and do their work. But, kids have done a pretty good job with it all in all.
Yeah, and it's definitely been an interesting road for us all to hoe. How has it made you a better teacher? How has it challenged you uniquely in that way to become a better teacher? Have you, and what measures have you tried to maybe make the classroom more fun because it is virtual?
I always try to make it interesting. Everybody walks into chemistry, and I don't think anybody's ever walked in and sat into chemistry day one and said, "Ooh, I want to be here. I love chemistry." Yeah. So we're always battling that, So we try to make it as fun as possible. The unfortunate thing in the remote sense is you do miss out a lot of it, because the kids aren't doing the labs themselves in a lot of ways. All right, we have simulations, or we'll have a kid video another student doing it, or a student will do it in class and Zoom at home to kids who are not in class. So it's definitely a challenge to engage them. We try to find the best things that we can. A lot of times you're looking for other YouTube things where they have like production studios where they can do some of the explosive experiments that we do on a larger scale. But just trying to find what hits and what makes kids, draw their interest and keep them engaged for a longer period of time.
And you're a chemistry teacher trying to essentially, and I guess pun totally intended, trying to build chemistry on this team. How do you use one for the other and vice versa?
Yeah, chemistry is definitely a huge thing in terms of, how a girls team evolves. When I first started coaching basketball at JD, it's the first girls team I'd ever coached. Chemistry, it might be more important than the X's and O's on the floor. That the kids all buy in. The kids want to, have the common goal, and they want to work hard together. And sometimes they have to sacrifice their own personal gains as a result of that. So we don't sit down and do like fireside talks with them about it, but we do a lot of things in practice to kind of, get them engaged with each other, so that they want to go to quote unquote go to battle with the other kids on the floor with them.
That coming here from Rob Siechen. Rob, before I let you go, I got some quick hitters here. One of them being that I call her my little sis. We're cousins, but we're more like brother and sister. Over the years, it's become that way. Miss Franny, after 3 years of being away from basketball, she's back. What went into the thought of maybe her being a part of this team could help the chemistry and give you another wrinkle? What can you say about Fran returning to basketball and your thoughts on that opportunity that you have with her there, knowing that she's obviously been playing lacrosse and will move on to play at move on with lacrosse to play at Stony Brook coming up here in a little bit?
Yeah, no, it was, I remember Fran back in 8th grade playing against our JV at JD. And Fran is an elite athlete. And we can always use elite athletes and those kids. Fran's unique in that she's, I want to say, uber competitive. It might be an understatement for her. And, that competitive nature, it just drives her, which we're trying to get to drive everybody else. And I knew what we're asking her to do this year. She didn't have to play basketball for the last 3 years. She's just coming in and, her job is defensive stopper, take the other team's best player and contain them. And it's great to see her, in our first game against Jenny, she guarded Katie Cunningham, who's one of the best players in the area. She's, Division I scholarship kid going to Marist. And she did a pretty solid job on her, and Fran hasn't been on the basketball floor for more than a week. So she's only going to get better as the season progresses.
And the rest of the team, taking a look at some of the other, players that you have. I mean, obviously Jess Cook, just what you could say about her in the debut of this season, 24 points in the game to lead the team. Obviously, there's life for her collegiately after this. Just what your thoughts are on Jess Cook.
I've never coached a big. We call them bigs and littles. I've never coached a big like Jess. She can dominate a drill, dominate a practice, dominate a game on her sheer size and her effort. She's got the skill to go with it. I didn't. Until I started coaching her every day, I didn't realize how good her footwork is for a big. And she's just got to become comfortable doing it. Right now, she overpowers everybody. She's big and plays really hard. She's, the only negative I can say about her is she playing so hard, she sometimes jumps into people and gets fouls that really aren't necessary.
Yeah, and for you, I mean, when you see this whole team come together, like you said, I mean, it's been quick to try and put this all and find this all. But at the end of the day, how would you describe the makeup in the environment, the culture of what you have right now? What would be a good assessment? I mean, I know you're only a game in of what you can really look at, but of the character of the young girls that you have on this team, as well as their talent and whatnot, how would you describe kind of what the makeup is of CNS as we step forward into this 2021 season?
I was very fortunate to walk into the program like this that that Coach Smith established, and it's been a fairly seamless transition. The kids are fantastic. They come in, they work hard, they don't complain about it. They'll pretty much do anything you ask them to do or try to do anything you ask them to do, and that's great. We're challenging them in different ways. And they respond to those challenges and they try, and that's all you can ask for them. That's in this shortened time period, it's been great to have kids that come in and they'll pretty much do anything we ask them to do, even if they're not good at it, and which is hard to do because a lot of kids only want to do things that they're good at.
Yeah, and trying to pull that out of kids. I mean, how have you developed that over time to get someone to trust you that when something is tough and when they want to give up, to keep pushing, when you see that there's a little bit more in the tank and they tell you that the tank's empty, how do you get it out of them?
Yeah, it's that trust between me and the player. I try to explain to the kids what we're doing and why we do it all the time. so that they learn to understand kind of the reasoning why. Every drill that we do in practice is going to relate to a game in some way, shape, or form. So I want them to understand that, I want you to do this, and you need to do this, and you need to work a little bit harder, and you'll be great at it. And the kids, throughout the various drills in practice and days in practice, and hopefully we get to weeks in practice here, they'll become to understand that that's what we're trying to do, and they buy in very well.
Final piece here with Rob Siechen inside the Cafe Kubal studios here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Rob, I don't know if you've ever been able to do this before, because I don't know that coaches usually get this opportunity, but I do a thing on my show called Rapid Fire, which gives me the opportunity to flip the script and allow you to put me on the hot seat, because normally you're the one asking questions. So you can have, and they don't have to do with basketball, doesn't have to do with sports, could literally be anything, but you got 3 questions that you can ask me as we as we come to our conclusion of our conversation here this morning on the show. I know you got to get prepped for the game and whatnot. So 3 questions, anything in the world. You got me on the hot seat whenever you're ready.
All right, we'll start off with one. What's something we need to know about Fran that we might not know?
That's something you need to know about Fran that you might not know. She is, and maybe you know this already, but with being an extremely, extremely fierce competitor, she is also extremely, extremely fiercely loyal. Her commitment to people that are committed to her is second to none. And she is a very good person. I think, because she's so strong and she goes after things, people might think that, she can't sit back and learn, but she can. She has that ability. She also has an extremely big heart, and she's very protective of the things that matter to her. So I would say that as incredible as she can be on a field or on a court, I think she's that much better in the game of life itself.
All right, very good. We'll change it up. Best pizza in Syracuse?
Well, I work with different places that have pizza, Rob, so I don't want to answer
I
this.
didn't know. I don't want to put you in the hot seat on that one then.
No, I can honestly tell you, I'm always real about it. You put me on the hot seat, I'm going to do it. So I think, the Wildcats plain cheese, love that there. I would say at Pizza Man, it's their Rigot one that they have that I really, really think is good. I would say at Avicoli's, it's probably their white pizza with tomato and broccoli, but it could also be, they do some other things with their pizza as well. So they got some other, actually, you know what, their margarita is probably the best. So yeah, I could say that at each different place, they do something really, really well, and I try to kind of, test and retest around at each of them. So they all got a different thing that makes me want to go there. So that question's fine, because each of them, I think, to me, give me a different flavor, and I appreciate it.
Gotcha. Very good. All right, and we'll come first full circle on this.
Yeah. If
you didn't live in Syracuse, where would you live? Since how you weren't too happy about the nice cold weather in the beginning.
To be honest with you, it's so I have a faith, and I believe in God, and I'm saying because God keeps. I want to let you know, Rob, I've been asked this question multiple times, and the timing of being asked this question is insane to my life, and I always feel like it's always God going, say it. So I would tell you that in my recent thought process, part of me would go up north, and part of me would go down south. Now, the up north in the Toronto area, obviously the Raptors are up there. I've always wanted to have the opportunity of working with them. My buddy Leo Routens is up there, and he works with them. And I would love to have, the opportunity to call a game and do some different things. So, and also getting into acting, Toronto is great for TV, and they're great for the movies. But then I used to live in Florida, and my best friend just moved down to Florida. So, that's in my mind too. I've thought about the Carolinas. So yes, I do have thoughts of other places, but the timing of this question is kind of hilarious at this point. So, so
very good.
With that being said, Rob Siechen here with us, CNS North Stars girls basketball. Rob, I know it's your first time here on the show, but I appreciate so very much that you took some time with me here in some extended time. Would love to have you back on again soon, and I wish you nothing but the best all season, and I'll be sure to be watching. And I want to tell you congratulations on the job. Congratulations on being someone in our community that is a teacher and sometimes a parent, sometimes an extension of family. And more than anything else, I want to thank you as an essential worker that doesn't get thanked enough for teaching our youth on the court, for teaching our youth in the classroom. Without people like you, we don't have America. And I wanted to thank you for that personally more than anything else.
All right, thank you very much. I appreciate the kind words.
All right, we'll talk with you soon, and my best to you tonight.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Take care. That coming from Rob Siechen here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. I thank you for being here with us in hour number one. We're going to take a quick step aside for a fast break. When we spin back around, we're going to get you ready for hour number two. Coming up with Mr. Mike Sofka. We got a lot of stuff to unpack and get into, and I'm always excited to have Mr. Sofka on the broadcast. So with that being said, let's take our quick step aside, and we'll be back here where sports meets life on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora.
Avicoli's Restaurant, located right at the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road, is proud to be your local neighbor, growing with you for over 20 years. We're open 7 days a week for lunch, dinner, and drinks. For takeout, delivery, or catering, call us at 315-622-5100. When you order online and use our promo code AVS10, you will save 10% on your online purchase at myavicolis.com. And make sure to join us monthly for our live on-site broadcasts centered around Liverpool athletics. Avicoli's, your local, trusted neighbor right at the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road.
Having peace of mind when you're out of town that your furry-loving friend is safe and sound means taking them to Canine Campground, because we all know that when it comes to the love of our pets, it goes well beyond the call of duty to make sure they're safe and sound. Right, Lily? So take a ride to 242 Johnson Street in East Syracuse, New York, and see Canine Campground and where your dog will be staying, in the classic cabin, the executive cabin, the grand cabin, or of course the luxury cabin, because if you know Lily, you know she loves luxury. Now you don't have to wait to the last minute to find a family member or a friend that'll take your dog for a few days. Call Canine Campground at 315-299-4013. That's 315-299-4013. Their drop-off and pickup times are Monday through Sunday. Check K9campground.com for more information. That's the letter K, the number 9, and campground spelled with a K.com. K9campground.com.
When you're going out of town, bring your dog to Canine Campground.
Trapper's Pizza Pub, located on 5950 Butternut Drive in East Syracuse. Right off of Bridge Street is your local community supporter right around the corner. Join us on site at Trapper's Pizza Pub for our live monthly broadcast supporting Central New York student athletes and their sports programs. Call 315-438-4444 for more information. And find us on Facebook and Instagram at Trapper's Pizza Pub. Trapper's Pizza Pub, your local community supporter right around the corner.
And a welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on wakeupcalldt.com, your one-stop sports shop, and on mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt. Inside of the Cafe Kubal Studios, you're on Facebook Live as well on facebook.com/livenowdt, and on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. I hope you're having a fantastic day, enjoying yourselves, and having some fun. And you got to warm up at Cafe Kubal. Lord knows it's cold. The cold air keeps coming through. I could feel it in my house. Normally I put my heat at a certain point and we're good to go. And now I feel like I got to turn it up, and then I maybe got to turn it up, and then maybe I got to turn it up a little bit more. So, I'm just putting more blankets on. That's just what it takes here, and I appreciate you being here. So in the studio, it feels the same way. It seems the same way in the house, same way in the studio. It's just, you turn the heat up and you hope for the best, but I'll be turning the heat up when Florida in Focus happens next week down in the Sunshine State, when I will be hopefully getting back to my normal shade of Dan, and I will be out there getting some color and enjoying that. So with that being stated, speaking of Florida, we are going to end this video on YouTube and Facebook. For those of you that are watching, follow us to our next one. It's going to be right here on Facebook.com/LiveNowDT and on YouTube.com/WakeUpCallDT. So you'll be able to check us out right here where sports meets that thing called life. We'll end this video, start a new one. For those of you listening on MixLR and on WakeUpCallDT.com, stay with us. We'll be back with Mike Sofka in just a moment.